What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Vanguard Project Podcast. My name is Austin Jardine. Happy freaking Monday. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. This past Saturday, I actually went to the Blade Show 2022 in Salt Lake City, and it was a lot of fun. I actually got to wander around, see some really cool knives, some Damascus, some really neat designs, some axes and hatchets and all that fun stuff. It was pretty neat. I didn't even know that it was going on, and it was about 15 minutes down the road from my apartment. I had somebody reach out and ask, they had found out that I had just moved to Salt Lake and suggested that I head on down and see, and you know what? It was a lot of fun, and I left with one souvenir in the form of a bandage. And not gonna lie, I'm a little embarrassed about it, but you know what? It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. Met some cool folks and saw some really fancy knives and sharp things. But maybe to digress a little bit, I'm super excited about today's episode with Mr. Dusty Sousley. He and I connected earlier this summer, and he's just one of those guys that you kind of sit down, you feel better having met. Honestly, whether that's just kind of shooting the shit, just the energy that he brings to the conversation, just kind of his personality as a whole. But I'm excited because his story is a lot of fun, and it's kind of one of those that you think about, you hear people that have done stuff like what Dusty's done as far as like living out of vehicles and traveling and just taking pictures and actually taking the things that he loves to do in life and making it a career path. And so I'm really excited to have him share his story with me today. But before we get into that, a couple quick announcements. The first thing, I do have a new show sponsor, and I'm super excited because for those of you that don't know, I'm a big competition shooter. That's something that I really enjoy doing. I'm not, God's gift to mankind by any stretch of the means, but I thoroughly enjoy competition shooting, whether that's USPSA, started doing two-gun earlier this year. Mostly I love doing long range, and I'm really excited because I picked up a new show sponsor with Midwest Gunworks, and Cameron reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. We sat on the horn, kind of talked a little bit, and they're awesome dudes. And so I spent some time looking through their website, trying to figure out what I wanted to go build next. And I'm not going to lie, it is a challenge because you sit there and they have just got a massive selection of parts. They're very big into the AR, AK, and 1911 world. So as far as parts go, it's like you kind of pick what you think you might want, and then you start building, and next thing you know, you have like 6 guns worth of parts in your cart, and you're like, hey, I can't afford all of these, but holy crap. And so, I've been really kicking around the idea of maybe doing a AR-10, doing maybe a 308 or a 6 ARC or a 6.5 Creed, and I just couldn't quite make my mind up. And so I actually have an existing AR-15 lower that I've got on my AR pistol, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to build a 16-inch gun. I'm going to build something that I can just slap that bad boy on and run it, and it would be a lot of fun to do in maybe some of these more tactical two-gun matches, or maybe do a carbine class or whatever the case may be. And so I have a ton of parts on order right now, and I'm super excited because they are actually, I would say, in my opinion, they're quality parts, right? I ordered, I think it was a Wilson Combat handguard. I would have to double check, but I think it was like a Wilson Combat handguard, a Ballistic Advantage 16-inch AR barrel that was in their carbine, or it was either a carbine length or rifle length gas tube. I would have to go double check. But yeah, I'm really excited because once I get that, I plan on doing a bit of a video unboxing everything for the Instagrams and maybe doing some build stuff. I got to go find an armorer's wrench. That was one thing that kind of in my moving and everything I left back in Boise, and I don't want to drive 5 hours just to get a $50 armorer's wrench, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Nevertheless, I'm really excited because in partnering with them, they do offer a 5% discount to Vanguard Project listeners. So if you're in the market for building parts or getting new parts, maybe a new Timney trigger, or maybe building out a completely new AR, or getting some fancy ass furniture for your AK, use code Vanguard to get 5% off. And it's crazy because 5%, especially when it comes to nice AR parts, adds up really fucking fast. So if you're trying to build something out new, maybe get a new barrel, use code Vanguard on Midwest Gunworks website to get 5% off. So I'm really excited. Like I said, follow both of us on the Instagram. I'll get it linked in the episode description, and that way you can see the parts that I got. Here quick, I'm hoping to talk about as far as shipping and everything, and kind of boxing and how fast everything was. I was talking to Cameron earlier this week, so hoping to get that. I submitted an order to them like later on Friday, so kind of giving it a weekend, and then we'll see how things go. But I'm really excited. So with all that to say, my goal with this podcast, I'm going to kind of take it a 180 a little bit, is really to help build up the community, right? And when I say the community, it's mostly in the outdoor industry, right? And so kind of as we talk, you'll learn a little bit about Dusty, and he actually loves fishing and hunting and camping and photography, and he's a big videographer at this point, right? But he lives a lot of the lifestyle that you would see a lot of folks kind of that I interact with enjoy. And then you've got guys like me that I enjoy, camping, and I'm still trying to get into hunting kind of more so, and the competition side of stuff, and kind of all the high speed shooting I enjoy, right? So it's kind of fun because my goal is, by interacting with these people and interviewing them, we learn a little bit more about how they did it, why they chose the path that they did, but also understanding the path that they took and some of the obstacles that they've overcome, so that if you find something that you want to go pursue as well, you can use this podcast and their stories as a tool to move you forward and find maybe a community or a new passion, a new interest, something to help move you forward or potentially join in on. So kind of to make it a little bit more personal for me too is, I just moved to Salt Lake and I don't know anybody, right? I mean, I've interviewed a couple of folks down here, but in terms of like people that I'd be able to show up to their door on a Friday night and drink beers with, I don't know anybody. Right. And so I've been able to throw up a couple things on Instagram and say, hey, I'm looking for homies that, fish, right? I don't know how to fly fish very well, but I enjoy it. I would love to meet people that fly fish. Hey, I've got my Indian. I'd love to go ride with folks if anybody knows anybody. Or, hey, I'm a gym guy. I love going to the gym. Whatever, right? I've had several people actually reach out to me and say, hey, I don't live in Salt Lake, but I've got friends that do. Send you a couple of DMs and get you connected. So it's been a ton of fun because I actually went to Jim Jones earlier this week, which is like 10 minutes down the road from me. And, went to a Jim Jones class, which is really cool. I mean, I've heard about it, did a little bit of research, super cool program, amazing crew of people. So I'm really excited. So kind of what I'm getting at, right, is being able to build that network and support you all with that as well is kind of my goal. So that way, if you find things that maybe you want to go do or try, that you can tap into folks like Dusty and be like, hey, Dusty, I'm trying to learn how to do videography, and I'm trying to learn kind of build my aesthetic or build my style. How did you do it? How did you build yours? And how did you kind of build up that niche that you enjoy? And being able to listen to this and then reach out to him, or reach out to him and him point to you to this, or right. So that's kind of my hope. And as you learn, my goal really isn't to talk a whole hell of a lot about myself, right? These intros and outros are about as much as I'll do, unless I'm doing a dedicated episode. But nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. We're going to roll Dusty's episode, and I'm super thankful. So if you guys don't mind, like, rate, and subscribe to the show. Follow me on the Instagrams, and we will catch you here in a couple of weeks. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Vanguard Project. My name is Austin Jardine, and I'm super excited because sitting down with me is Mr. Dusty Sousley. And I said it fast to make sure I got the name right, and made sure to ask because we were just talking about it that I forget to ask how to pronounce people's last names, and then I'm that guy that got it wrong. So here we are. It's Monday morning. We're recording. I'm stoked to chat with you, man. You and I bumped shoulders for the first time up at the Eberlestock event earlier this summer, and I don't know if you're gonna love that I say this or not, but one of my fond memories is you doing a shoey. I saw pictures of it shortly thereafter. So how are you doing, dude?
I'm doing well, man. Yeah, that was a good event. I had a great time out there, and it was fun hanging out with you.
Yeah, it was good, man. So I'm excited because you do a lot of really cool stuff. I know that you do a lot of traveling, a lot of the photography, some fishing, some cool stuff that I'm excited to learn a little bit about, and then also kind of your storyline. I know that kind of before we started recording, you'd mentioned you've lived a couple lives over. So I'm super excited to kind of hear what that actually means and see what I can learn from you this wonderful morning. So if you don't mind, maybe starting just with your introduction. I've got a pen and paper right here. I'm going to take some notes as we go, and hopefully badger some questions out of you as we go.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Yeah, so born and raised, grew up in Washington State on a little island called Fox Island, and I was fortunate enough to like grow up right on the water, like 20 feet from the saltwater, and that was like just having the woods on the backside and the saltwater on the front side like that. That shaped everything that I do now for sure. And my parents, or my mom's from Southern California, my pops is from Hawaii, and so he grew up spearfishing and doing a little bit of recurve bow hunting back in the day, and just that all those stories of his adventures has kind of shaped what I'm into, and just he got to take me, he took me with him. So yeah, grew up in Washington State, and just when we moved into that house on the island, there was a little like tiny boat there, and my dad was like, "Well, if you can learn how to fix the hole in it, like that boat's yours." Well, it had a little motor, and I was all right, let's do this. So we went through that process, fixed the boat up, and from then on, I was all on the water. Took the dog and just like fished and crabbed and learned how to dive, and then it all just kind of led to like stealing their film camera and having that thing with me to take photos of what I was doing by myself or with my friends, and just found interest in like capturing moments. And so then kind of like coming into high school, just school was not my thing. I struggled in school. I mean, I had no desire to be in a math class, a language arts class, and like history was all right, but it was like woodworking was fun, and then I learned that I could take yearbook and become a photo editor, but just call it an editor, and that got rid of an English credit. And so I was like, cool, like I can do that. And then I learned Photoshop, which brought me to making leave of absence passes for me and my friends. So that we were signing ourselves out of class early, and it was like, all right, let's go off road, or let's go down to the water and all that. Yeah, so it was just kind of like a really fun way to escape. And but I mean, my grades, it started to show up in my grades, and my parents were wondering what I was doing. And I don't even know if they know that I was doing that. So if they watch this, then they'll know. But um, yeah, so just that, all that kind of led to like just being outside, and it always had a camera in my hand at all times, and like took every photo and video class I could through high school, and the teacher was really rad, and a lot of people weren't like a big fan of the teacher, but he and I just clicked, and I think he understood what I wanted to do, and that was kind of like probably my freshman year of high school. I was like, I want to shoot photos. I want to be a photographer. Didn't know anything about it, but just started shooting photos, and it's kind of like probably. I remember in my senior year of high school, I just pestered friends that worked at Red Bull, and I was like, hey, like I want to shoot for Red Bull. I want to shoot for Red Bull. So let's go. Put me in, and is me that was like that was the top,
Yeah,
because I was snowboarding, I was surfing, I was hanging out with all my friends that skated and shot photos of them, and it just like whatever I could, like action sports was what I wanted to do.
sure.
Um, I also came like through high school, middle school and high school. I was training. I was doing flatwater sprint canoe, which is a sport that not many people know
Yeah, I
about.
have
It's
no
like
idea what that is. Okay.
so it's a my single canoe is a 16-foot carbon fiber boat
Okay.
that was it's 11 inches wide, and I don't even know how much it weighs. Like it's so light, and you are down on one knee, and your other foot's in front, so you can fit in this boat. And you paddle on one side the whole time, and you do a J stroke to stay straight.
Okay.
Never switch sides, and they have it as single, doubles, and four man. And my town that was like right next to us off the island just happened to have a club, and I didn't want to play any more team sports because I don't think I'm much of a team sport guy as I got older. And then so I started doing that, and then my dad's just always been a coach from soccer to just kind of whatever, like he just weightlifting and track. And so then he was like, well, my kids are interested in this, like maybe I can learn to coach this. So he started coaching us, and we did that for like a little over a decade, and I just got bored with it because it's all flat water. But like we went far. Like I mean, we won like, numerous national championships, and in singles to doubles and fours, and then we every summer would go to the Olympic Training Center in New York, and I'd train there for a couple of months, and then we'd compete to go to the World Championships and the Junior Olympics for like Olympics for under 18. And so did that and went like ended up kind of getting like it was in the top 30 in the world probably is what it ended up being, but it was just like a weird like that's all I did. I just trained, and then in school it was like, oh, I can get out of school to go do free stuff, like do the stuff I actually want to do. So uh, and yeah, and so then like I quit that and it was just like over it. Did a bunch of open ocean racing and surf ski and some outrigger stuff, and then I was like, I'm done. And then got Red Bull on board to like hire me finally. So then I was like, all right, now this is cool. I'm like shooting downhill mountain biking. I'm shooting rally car racing. I'm like getting to go in rally cars with professional drivers, and we're hitting these hairpin turns at 90 miles an hour. I'm like, this is like I'm into this, and got really into cliff jumping and started cliff jumping everything I could and yeah, and rock climbing, just like literally get anything action sports related, anything that would give me that little like shot of adrenaline that um I could participate in, but like have the camera in hand was like I was like saying yes to, whether that
Yeah.
was I was living in my car, living at buddies' houses, like staying in cabins, like just whatever I could to like live as cheap and or free and just bum it pretty much so I could shoot photos. But the action sports world pays like nothing. So it's like I'd get like pennies here and there, and then like, all right, I can get, and that's enough gas for me to get here to go shoot this. And so it was, yeah. So then that world of Red Bull opened up so many doors of like, I get paid to go do this stuff now, or even though it was minimal, but and I started getting in with like a base jump crew, and
Yeah.
that was like really pivotal for me to like, whoa, like this is the first sport that I don't know if I want to do it. Like I want to do it because it looks so thrilling. But then after seeing and hearing stories of people dying, and then I was just like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, there's a
Yeah.
few other things that I want to do in life that
Before
don't.
that.
Yeah, it's like because I know if I'm gonna get into it, like I'm gonna be like that. That rig's gonna probably go with me everywhere. I'm gonna
Yep.
want to jump off of every building. Like you're just like I just know I'd get addicted to it. Like I've driven car for people, whatever. It's just like filming it with friends that before they jump, they're always hugging you. They're like, "Love you, brother." Like, yeah, you too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, like, all right,
This could
like,
be it.
yeah." I'm like, this is the last time I'm gonna see maybe like this buddy or this buddy. I'm like, and that was kind of heavy, and I was like, "Whoa, I don't know. I don't think I want to. Not right now, at least. I don't know. Who knows? I come back and forth to it like every year. I'm like, I should go get my skydive certs, and then I should go learn the base jump, call those boys up. But so yeah, that was like super fun, and that just like took me all over the place, and I got to travel all around the country with them and um, film and shoot photos, and then I was just kind of like getting. I eventually kind of got burnt out on it. I was like, oh, I need to like make some more money so I can finally like if I want to buy new camera gear, get a new truck, whatever, like have a place to live, and so and I was like following like the standard like shooting guidelines. I felt like I was like, oh, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and I was like a young creative, and like I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like had an issue with a guy that hired me that ended up stealing my camera gear, and that's when I learned about contracts. And like, so I just kind of like was going through this with like no schooling, but all my colleagues and friends that were also getting into filming, majority of them were in school for it, and they were like I don't know. They were always like, "Man, it's so fun that you're out doing it without school." I'm like, "Yeah, but like I have no clue what I'm doing like on the business side of it." And they're like, "Well, honestly, like we're learning stuff here, but we're not learning a ton." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like at least I'm not blowing whatever 60K a year on that or whatever." So it was kind of like this thing. It was like, if I don't pull it off by like age 26, 27, I was like, I'll consider going to school for something,
Sure.
whatever that is, like marine bio or maybe film school. I don't know. But it's just like, it's like, all right, like I'll keep chugging away and learning and making mistakes and figuring it out. And so then it kind of like fast forward through a chunk of like 4 or 5 years of just like trying to figure it out. And yeah, I went through like a bunch of like injuries. I got a bunch of concussions, and like that was really frustrating to like deal with. And it just kind of like made me like slow down and take a second and be like, all right, and kind of like hone in exactly what I want to do. And I realized that I didn't want to shoot photos as much, that I wanted to film. And
Hmm.
so I started shooting a lot more motion, like started working with friends on that, and then kind of shifted into this like working with some fashion brands, like some Dolce and Gabbana, and then like was kind of on the higher end, and then like Reef Girls like stuff, and we did that in like Morocco. We did some fashion stuff in Cuba, and it's just like it was cool. It was good, rad to go to those places, but it wasn't like it felt forced. And I was like, all right, like that's fun. Like what else? What else can I do? So then my buddy that I was starting to go on those trips with, and he's a photographer that came, and I was the filmer. He started shooting a lot of Toyota commercials, and so we came in and started doing that. So then I got into like precision driving and started like running like a camera car and like flying in 2 days early, picking up a rental like Tahoe, taking that thing, ripping the bumper off, like drilling holes in the frame, and like mounting like these random contraptions that I have learned, like I had welded, and like tried to fasten this thing together so we could film the new Toyota Supra on a racetrack in Georgia. And it was like, all right, I got to figure this out. How do I build this thing? We're going to mount a $25,000 camera to the front of this so we can get this video clip and go from there. And that was fun. I was like, all right, this is cool. We're doing a handful of those a year, rad people, like got to hang out with like action sports legends that I looked up to,
Yeah.
like Andy Bell, like just cool to like work with him, be like, whoa, this guy's like he's legit. Like I
Yeah.
remember watching him on Nitro Circus and stuff, and and now I'm like sitting here staring at him wearing a fur coat, and it's like just it's really surreal to like go through all that and then come to that point. But then yeah, just driving tracks, chasing Supras with cameras on like bigger rigs and building that, and then this is fun, and it is like all like added up. Like okay, now I want to go just I want to spearfish more or whatever. I want to like learn to spearfish better and stuff. So then I picked up and I moved to Southern California. And my parents moved down here. My sister was going to college down here. So I was down there one day and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool down here. There's Mexico's here and there's big fish. And I kind of want to learn how to do that. And so drove back to Washington, loaded up my car, and 3 days later I drove back. And just like I lived in a tent in my parents' backyard for a while, and I was infested with ants, and just started trying to like make friends down here and learn this industry and um, learn to spearfish, and went on some epic trips with different spearfishing crews thanks to some buddies that I met, and these two brothers. And turns out the one brother is has been filming and went to film school and has been doing it for like at that point he's probably like been doing it for a decade longer than I had. So just learned a ton from him, and we ended up doing a Western film together,
Okay.
which was really cool. And I've always loved old Westerns. Like that's what I watched with my dad, like True Grit, all the film series, like the Man with No Name, like all those Clint Eastwood films. Like I love those. I eat those things up, and I just love how they're filmed. They're simple. Like it's just there's no weird transitions. Like occasionally you have these funky shots, but it's simple. And that's how I always wanted to film. And so my buddy Jim and I went linked up with my other buddy Ben Christensen and this country artist named Charlie Crockett. and we went and filmed for literally a day straight. That was supposed to be a music video, and we ended up filming like a 10-minute narrative film, um, with gun battles and dragging people with ropes on dirt behind horses and everything. Like it was so fun, and learned a ton. Didn't have a script, didn't have anything, and just was like, you know what, like no one's probably gonna pay us to do this, so we just need to do it. And my buddy Ben Christensen, like he had the vision for it, and so we just trusted him and we ran with it. And then, but he's a photographer, he's not a filmer, and so we just like went through it together and figured it out. And then that was kind of my entrance into this like Western lifestyle of documenting that world, and that was really special to me to like have that and kind of run with that because it was something that I was always interested in, but like I just couldn't find that door to like kind of like step into it. And so then Ben and I went to Vegas for national finals rodeo and had one heck of a time there, like just meeting people and going through all this stuff. And it just met a lot of his connections, like there were people like just Boot Bar and other country singers, John Wayne Foundation, just met some like actors there, like met became friends with Ethan Wayne, and Ethan Wayne was just like really stoked on the stuff Ben and I wanted to do, and just kept talking about doing more things. And so we'd have meetings all day from like 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. Go to after events, just network, and then from there it was straight up to the hotel room where we edited until like 4 in the morning, trying to like edit this Western film. And then we go to Applebee's at like 4:30, like eat because it was like right below our hotel room. Yeah, it's just like, and then we'd be like, all right, now we got to go sleep for 3 hours. And we just did that for like 2 or 3 days straight, and got the film like pretty buttoned up and exactly where we wanted it. And then um, people knew what we were up to because we had released a bunch of stills from it, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?" Because Ben's like a master of Western style, and
Okay.
so we had it styled like beautifully, and it was we were like, we want it. We want like, what are you guys doing? Let's do something. So did a bunch of stuff with that, and then had a big premiere for it here in Southern California, where I live now, and we had like okay, maybe like 150, 200 people show up. Like that'd be rad if that many people showed up. We are gonna have Charlie Crockett surprise everybody and play a few songs and stuff like that. And next thing we know, like this parking lot is packed out. I got like a bunch of free beer, and we had like 600 people show up to this parking lot.
That's
And
awesome.
it was like Southern California. I'd never seen so many like cowboy hats. And
Yeah.
so I don't even know where these people came from. And I was like, this is cool. So it was rad to see that support and just the power of, I guess, social media.
Right.
And so we had that, and I was like, whoa, like we did something cool here. And a lot of people were pumped on it, and we just like, let's do it again. And so that kind of led me to like working in the Western industry and kind of just like saying goodbye to the like a lot of the car stuff and fashion stuff, and the fashion stuff kind of translated into like the Western world. But
Sure.
I was like I want to play with guns and camp and be in the dirt and stuff like that, like the stuff I grew up doing, like
Yeah.
being out in the water and camping and just like sleeping on the beach and all the stuff I actually like love doing. And like, well, let's just go full circle back to like being a kid again, but as an adult, try to do this forever. And so, um, just like chase that down, and then didn't for it took like us like almost 2 years to reapproach the Western film. But in between that, like a mutual friend of both of ours, Danny Bolton, I he was like he was hunting a lot, and he and I became friends on one of the Toyota jobs. He was our stunt driver, and him and Charles, and I was like, Danny, like we should film some hunts, and he's like, all right. So I flew out to Hawaii, and we filmed a little pig hunt, and I was like, this is cool. Like I want to do this. Like this is fun. And so, and then he spearfishes a lot, so we spearfish together, and then it kind of led to that. Later that fall, I went on my first elk hunt with him and his pops, and it was like 10 days of just following Danny around. And he's like, don't do this, do this, try this, don't try this, like whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like just like absorbed it all. And hearing those elk like bugle in the woods like that, I was like, this is like that's cool. Like I was like not many people like experience that. Like if you're not in that world at all, at least here, like in San Diego, like I know of people that have like chased elk, but I don't like I never really met anyone here that does. And
Sure.
so I was like, I don't know, I got like immersed into that, and then that's and I was like, all right, like this is like spearfishing, hunting, and western, which I feel like can all be like combined into one. And I was like, that's what I'm chasing. Like that's what I want to do. And it's so it kind of birthed the studio name that I came out with that I film under, which currently is Saltwater Cowboy Studio, but it's gonna shift over in a little bit different style here soon. So I'm excited for that, but like same path, same direction, like everything, like same goal. So, but it's just all land and sea. Like that's been my entire life. Is either I'm in the ocean or I'm out in the woods. And so I was just like, I'm gonna stick with that. And so that's led to like filming now. Like I worked on two different TV shows, filming hunts, and I went from really never being on a hunt, like other than just like shooting raccoons and possums and stuff in my backyard to so like that going hunting with Danny and boar and elk, like those are two really like important things to me, like that I constantly talk with Danny about. And so yeah, and then it's now I'm just like as many hunts as I can get on filming wise or on my own. I think we did like since then it's been like we've hunted in we did a stag hunt in Patagonia for the TV show. We've done fly fishing in Argentina. We've done just like got to go back and hunt axis deer in Hawaii 2 years in a row. Done some stuff in Montana, elk in Oregon, just elk in New Mexico. I just got back from, and it's just like I fly to Alaska in like a month from today to go chase brown bear with a buddy, and
That'll be
so I
cool.
like, yeah, I'm so psyched for that one. But it's yeah, and then it like got me really stoked. Like I remember like it got me really pumped like for bears. I was like, bears are cool. Like they could attack me back, and I was like, if they really want to, like they can get me. And so that kind of got me stoked. And I was like, all right, I don't want to chase anything. I want to go shoot bears and on my bow. And I shot a recurve bow when I was a kid. And then like Danny was like, you need to get a new bow. I showed up to Hawaii with some rickety old thing that, so I shoot left-handed. I'm a right-handed, but left eye dominant.
Yep.
Well, screwed up. So I was shooting this ancient like bow that had like kind of, like it was still wood. Like the riser was wood,
Yep.
but it was all, yeah, hand painted. Like my dad's friend gave it to me because he happened to be left-handed, and it was just like the circle cams, and one cam was all cranked over, and Danny was like, "No, dude, you can't. Like, you gotta get a new bow." I saved up and like bought myself a bow, and then was like met Danny in Idaho at Eberlestock headquarters, and he helped me sight in my first pin in the basement of Eberlestock, and that's when it all really like I was like, all right, I got a bow now, and I was on a 26 state road trip at the time. Just I didn't have anything else to do, and so I grabbed my dog and just went on a road trip. And so I was like hanging out in Ohio, like trying to shoot deer in my buddy's property in Ohio. I was in Nebraska helping on my friend's ranch, learning to trap coyotes and raccoons with my friend's like 14-year-old son at the time, and we were shooting geese. And I was like, this is cool. Like, let's keep going. Let's just keep doing this and trying to like wanting to film the content, but I always had this like standard that I wanted to hit. And
Yeah.
it's been the most frustrating thing for me creatively because there's a lot of great like I watch YouTube hunting videos all day. Like I don't even like touch like Netflix or really anything anymore. It's like who can I go watch on YouTube that's got just like them hunting? and or spearfishing. But it's like, so I've like been like watching all this content. I'm like, yeah, this is a cool video, but I like naturally I'm critiquing everything. Like I can watch Dumb and Dumber 5 times in a row, but I'm sitting there and all I do is like critique how it's shot.
Yeah.
I'm still laughing and I'm enjoying it, but it's it always it's not work, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm
You're always
always just
working.
like
Yeah.
I'm always like rewinding it. Whoever I'm watching a movie with is like, dude, you're so annoying. Like, can we just watch it? I'm like, yeah, but and so I like see this and I'm like, wow, the hunting industry has some those stories that are being told are amazing, but I feel like they're not filmed. Like the pieces aren't to the degree that they could be in my head. And I'm like, I have my background is obviously like what I said, like shooting like kind of some higher end or being a part of shooting higher end commercials, and like I just like learned a lot of things from that I was like, man, I could bring this into this world and this like this industry and potentially like alter it, change it, and that would be that'd be rad. Like I feel like I'm in this position to do it. And I had been like, was filming for TV shows. I'm still filming for a TV show, and it's like, all right, like let's try to make a go at this. So called up a couple of my buddies that I liked. That one's an epic photographer, and the other one's a killer director and DP. And I was like, hey boys, let's film a bear hunt, but make it like super cinematic and kind of just like tweak it, like just like let's just mess it up, like compared to what everyone else is used to. And I was like, so I started digging and researching, and I found like Donnie Vincent,
Yeah.
and I was like, he's making rad stuff. Like I'm like, that's cool. Like I want to do that, but I want to push past his bar that he's developed. Um, and then there's this spearfisherman named David Ochoa, and he makes these insane spearfishing videos. And I was like, okay, cool. Like these are my two that I found that are like the best in my opinion. Now I want to sit here and combine the two. Like, how can I like mess this up? But it's been really interesting to pitch this with brands that aren't used to that kind of thought. Where
Sure.
it's like I don't like because I'm not holding the camera. I'm not gonna vlog. I don't like that. I don't mind watching other people with that, but it's not my style.
Right.
My style is like I want to make a movie. I want to make something that like you sit down. It's an hour and a half, but it's not like dragging out.
Yeah. You enjoy
Um,
it.
yeah, and it's and that's like I can watch Donnie Vincent stuff all day long. Like I really appreciate what he's done with that with his production company, but it's been interesting to dive into that and learn and be like, okay, how do I make waves in this industry specifically? Because now all I want to do is like when I'm home, I'm like, man, get me out on the boat, like get me out out and wherever. I don't care where it is. Like let's go do something. So it's we started filming spearfishing stuff and and really trying to like change it the spearfishing content, and like we've hit that bar to where I want it. Um, and I've used that to like talk with brands and whatnot. But it's you can see it in hunting brands that they're concerned. They're not concerned, but they're not used to seeing that style, and they're like, huh? Like this isn't what the norm is. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. Like push past that. Let's try something new.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that in the content in making short films or like it's new is scary to brands because it's a risk, and and so after a while of just getting like all the TV shows that I work with, like I was like, hey, can you introduce me to your contact at brand X, brand Y, brand Z? Like I just want to like see what they think.
Right.
They're like, wow, this looks really cool, but I don't see how it fits. I'm like, what do you like? Of course it fits. It's a hunting film. Like it's addressing and focusing on how like I'm gonna do it all in California. How they're trying to make bear hunting illegal in California, and which makes no sense because California hasn't hit their bear tag quota in like I don't know 10 or 12 years, and so that was like an interesting thing to me. And then, but I'm like not like I'm not a political person. Like I'm not going to dive into that. Like,
Right.
but it's like it's something I want to address and like give a visual why of how beautiful it is out there, and just like this is why you want to get out and like look at this meat. And I remember my old roommate shot a bear once when I was in like high school or a little after high school. I just graduated, and he's like, make us some bear tacos or something. And I was like, man, this is good. Like I like bear. And so I just like I was like, it's cool like eating another predator that's like in the woods. And I'm like, if you can outsmart another like apex predator, then like you're cooler than he is. And so it's just kind of this like drive to like want to do that. And then spearfishing, they're trying to like it's like there's this movement called 30 for 30, and they're trying to take 30% of California's coastline and make it in a marine protected area. So we can't go onto the beach and swim out on the water and shoot fish. And like, I pretty much like I buy vegetables, but that's about it. Like now it's like I got everything else is like stuff that I've like either now gotten to go bow hunt or I shoot like majority of the fish. And so to me that was like, all right, like how do we like figure this out? And I'm like, let's just like add this into that film. And so I finally was just like, you know what? I'll like I'll do the film myself. Like I'll fund it. And I like remember I like applied for a couple new credit cards and just like I wasn't really that smart with credit in general, but now I learned a lot. And I was like, all right, like here's what we need. Like got free gear from a couple brands that were like willing to do it, and like Eberlestock was psyched on the concept, and so they were like, here, like wear our stuff. And I'm like, heck yeah, and like thanks, like Danny had like plugged me in well with them, and so I was like, all right, like let's make a go at this, and just maxed out the one credit card to like get the rest of the gear we needed, like make sure like my buddies were here, and we went out and like got the rest of the bow hunting equipment I needed, and let's go. And went out for like 8 days and saw a couple bears, and I was just like, all right, this is cool, like this is fun. And then I we got one into like 20, ended up being at 25 yards. I thought it was at 20, and he was just being really skittish. I was calling, and I just remember seeing it. He came in off my like six, and I was like, remember like having this feeling that I need to look over my shoulder, and I was like, whoa. I saw the bear finally, and he was like drooling and like grunting, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like my adrenaline was like pumping, and I was like, "That's cool!" Like that's like I just remember like I had a little like 9 millimeter on my hip, and I was like, man, like I don't know, like this could be fun. Like and I'm like telling my buddy, I'm like, "Hey, there's a bear finally after 8 days. Like it's our last day," and then I ended up missing it, and because I didn't expect him to come from that way, and I was like. And he kept like hiding behind the ridge line. They're moving back forward, just showing his chest. And I was like, all right, like I'll send one like straight into his chest. Like, let's do this. And I had this little tiny like thing I ended up missing. And I shaved off some of his chest hair. I found some of his chest hair, and
Did you really?
like, I was like, man, I was so close. But I was like, what did I do wrong? So I had my buddy go stand up there, and I ranged him, and he was at 25, and he was like, elevation wise, he was like 15 feet above me, and
Oh.
I was like, okay, like this is interesting. So I started. Then I was like, all right, like missing an animal that I really wanted was like really motivating. And so I was like, all right. Came home, and I was trying to shoot like at minimum I was shooting like 4 days a week, like,
Yeah.
and I was trying to just if I was home, I was like shooting my bow. Like now I'm was like been like shooting off the roof of my house I live in, like just trying to like all right, how do I not mess up again? And yeah, and then it's like, well, I kind of want to like I don't want to just like let my first animal just be the bear, and now I gotta wait until next year,
Hmm.
really. But so I was like, okay, so I got to go hunt lanai and like shot an axis deer finally, like, and I was like, cool. So I was like, that's this guy right here. It's like my first bow kill ever, and I was like psyched. I was like, heck yeah, ever like that was cool. And I'm like, man, I'm addicted. Like after the bear, I was addicted, and now I'm just like it's like a new levels of just obsession. And I was like, all right. And then my buddies hit me up like, hey, you want to go elk hunt? And I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for that. Like, I just started. This is like been 2 years I've been like messing with this, and like, I don't want to go dump some cash into an elk tag and then like blow it. Like I'd rather put that money into like finishing this bear film than
Right.
going back and revisiting it. And then I was like, you know what? Like any times in the woods, like it's just like go get in the woods. So I went this like a few weeks ago and I had to film an elk hunt in New Mexico at this really cool ranch out there and in Shama. And then we drove through the night, pulled all nighter, got on a flight in Dallas, and I flew to Oregon. My buddies picked me up in Oregon, and we went and hunted that night. And I was like, "Whoa, like, all right, like we're home. Like these are my woods. Like that's like the rainforest, like of the Pac Northwest. Like that's what I grew up in. Like I know all the plants there. I feel comfortable. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's go see what's up. And I told myself, I was like, the first legal bull that comes in that I can get a shot at, I'm sending that arrow. And like I've been around a lot of like good elk killed because of the TV show, and it's like such a standard of like
Right.
what's cool.
What's acceptable? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, they're like passing on these like kind of like heavier like 5x5s and stuff. They're like, I want that, and I'm like, all I hear is like, it's got to be over 300. It's got to be over 300, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, I just want to shoot my first one, and like, I want the meat. And like my dad's like pumped that I'm out there, and he's like, I want elk meat. Go shoot one. I'm like, okay. And like second day, I ended up getting it done and like shot like literally like just over legal bull in like last week, and was like so psyched. I was like out of my mind. Like my buddies all these guys that I spearfished down here were up there, and so it was fun to like be up there and like do that. And I was like, all right, cool. Like the training, the learning from going on all these other hunts and just saying yes to stuff was um paying off. And I was like, cool. Like, and it's just like, honestly, it's just been in this like past like year and a half, 2 years where I've really seen this like growth of work all coming together and it combining with passions, and whether they're new passions or old passions. And I think that's just been really cool. And it's like learning this lesson of always like just saying yes to opportunities, whether they're paid or not. They're gonna put you in a predicament, maybe like you know you got to make them all calculated to a certain degree. Like you got bills you got to pay. You can't go dump a couple grand to go here or whatever. But I've just always like said yes and like dealt with the uncomfortableness of my current environment and
Yeah.
just like I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll live in a garage for $300 a month. So then I'm not paying a grand for a room. I have more space, and that extra 700 I'm saving, I can go spend on fuel to go drive somewhere. And it's like I'm probably gone on average now like 6 months out of the year. So it's like I was just like it made sense, and so I was just like, all right, like let's just always just say yes. And that was like a really big thing for me, was just like if I get a call from someone, they're like, hey, do you want to do that? I'm like, yes, I do. And be really stoked for that opportunity and hit it like wholeheartedly and with everything that I have. And granted, messed up a ton along the way, obviously, but they all led to like all this now. And I'm like, all right, and like it's what led me to like meeting you and out there and just like building connections with like real like and like epic humans. So yeah, and then this earlier this year we finally filmed the second Western. We just like circled back on this finally, and we're like, let's do it. And I think it's gonna be like my first like feature film length, is at least the thought. We're hoping for. I think we were hoping for like 90 minutes. I think we were gonna sit at like 70 minutes.
Yeah.
But we went and it was like we dedicated all of March, I think it
Okay.
was, to it. And I was the only filmer, and I had one camera and one lens. And I was like, let's I'd never shot on this lens before, and I was like, it was just my favorite millimeter and the director Ben Christensen's favorite millimeter of the lens. And I was like, dude, what if we film the entire thing on one lens and just stop? Like, just let's just, is it
Yeah.
possible? I don't know. And And so we were we just were like, yeah, let's do it. Like, just said yes to that situation and like ran with it. And we were like a week in, we're like, whoa, this is cool. Like, we're filming like stuff that we're like really like proud and stoked on, and ended up filming for like 26 days straight or something like that. Like, I think we took, we took Easter Day off and like went and rode horses up to the top. We were in Kanab, Utah, and just like had a bunch of like epic friends came out, and just people volunteered their time, and it was really cool. Like, at one point, I think we had probably at max like 13 people show up in this like tiny Airbnb house. We had like trailers in the back. People were sleeping like outside. We had people on couches. Uh, it was cool. Like, bunch of like real deal hardcore like cowboys from Texas showed up, and that are just real like like all time humans that they're friends for life now because of that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just really cool to like bring in that all these people that were like down to be creative, and that was just, but it was brutal. It was one of the gnarlier things I've ever done, just because it was it was hard. It was hard on me, like, creatively. Like, nothing fries my brain more than staring at a camera and thinking of shots and and just angles and how I'm gonna piece this together with the next piece. And we didn't have a script again, and so it was like sometimes it was very frustrating to like be sitting there like rapping back and forth with like the director and then this other dude, just trying to figure it out. But it was like one of the coolest learning experiences to like, and so that was like, all right, like, I just filmed that like longer length piece. Now, what I learned from that, I'm gonna take into this bear film, because it just kept circulating back to the bear film. It was like, I
Yeah.
want to finish this bear film. Like, I want to get it out, and like, if I got to do it myself, cool. Like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'll spend what I gotta spend to pull it off, and hopefully, someone somewhere sees the value in it and is down to throw something at it for me. And so yeah, we're prepping for it. My filmer flies in 2 days, and we're out, and we're gonna go try to like put that hammer down and make it make it a reality. And we're filming spearfishing on Thursday, and it's like we're going 70 miles offshore to this outer island to film a bunch of stuff there, and then gonna go straight into the woods. And um yeah, it's just like, I think all that's like leading up to this, like all the past, I guess I've been filming now for, it's 2023. I graduated high school. It's been like, I've been filming pretty much like since like my senior year of high school, like for, I guess, money, if you will. So professionally, like about a about a decade now.
Yeah.
No school, like nothing, just like learning and failing miserably, and just trying to meet the right people and learning the network and
Yeah.
saying sorry, learning to say sorry pretty well, and just like, but also learning that there's, finding that line of, there's all these rules that people put in place, but it's like, I don't, I don't do very good with the rules things. And so just like, all right, there's these rules, like, cool, I get it, like, but I don't, I'm not gonna follow those rules. Like, forget it. Like, I'm done with it. Like, I'm just gonna do exactly what I want to do, how I want to do it. And um, there's this filmer that like has this, like, I pulled it up because his name is Warner, like, Herzog. I don't know if I said that last name right either, but he's got this like epic quote, and there's some little chunks in it. It's just like his rules for like his life, and then like his filmmaking. And um it's just always like had some epic little like one liners in here that was like, um yeah, it's like, there's never an excuse to not finish a film. Carry bolt cutters everywhere. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. Take your fate in your own hands. Learn to read the inner essence of a landscape. Ignite ignite the fire within and explore unknown territory. Walk straight ahead, never detour. Maneuver and mislead, but always deliver. Don't be fearful of rejection. Develop your own voice. Day one is the point of no return. And I love that one because it's like I always think about life. It's like, well, life's gonna kill you.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like I'm gonna like wherever that end of the line is, like I might as well try to race it to that point. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'm getting to that point too.
yeah, it's like well, like all right, like it's been sick. Let's just keep going. And so that one's been like really cool, and I like that one. But a badge of honor is to fail a film theory class, and that one was cool because I was like, I work with people all the time. They go to film school, and they're like, you can't do that, and I'm like, why?
Why?
Tell me why I can't do that. Like, give me a legitimate reason. Like, I get it. Like, there's certain rules of like what looks good on film. Like, I understand that, but it's also like, what if I just did it? Like, and I try to think of all these people that have been like, oh, that person said you couldn't do this, and then this person in history did it anyways, and it changed the course of. Not that I'm gonna have that much impact, but it's like just for me, like
Yeah,
creatively,
a
like
little
how
bit
can I
of
push those
satisfaction.
boundaries?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then chance is the lifeblood of cinema. I was like, that was cool. And my other personal favorite is guerrilla tactics are best. And I'm like, hey, that one's good. And it's like another one is like he ends it with, well, there's one more too. It's like there is nothing wrong with spending a night in jail if it means getting that shot you need. I was like, all right, Roger that. So it's like I've had some jobs where I've been like, if they want me to speed, I'm always like, hey, you like in this contract, like you have to bail me out of jail. You have to pay my speeding tickets. Like whatever when I was driving, it was like that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like they agree to it, but they don't want to. And the other one is like get used to the bear behind you. And that one was like that was always like one of my favorites because I was like, that's cool. Like I
That
don't know
hit close to
exactly what
home.
it means. Yeah, I don't know what it means in his life, but it's just like it's like cool, like just life's scary that there's something sniffing down your back at all times. And it's I made us had a sticker made. It was on my laptop for the longest time. And it's still here, but the only part of it that's left, I've scraped it all off. It used to say get used to the bear behind you. And then I got rid of a couple words and so it just said get the bear behind you. And then now it just says the bear. And so now I'm like, all right, like once I shoot this bear, like that sticker's coming off. And I was like,
Dude,
there's no more bear.
yeah. Well, not yet. I was gonna ask you, what's the next bear? I mean, like you're building up this bear. What's the next one? Have you thought that far ahead, or is it like you're just so focused on almost literally tomorrow?
Um, no, I definitely have started. I got kind of tired of living like paycheck to paycheck, and
Sure.
I really want to look beyond it. And so I've started trying to like I want to build a legitimate studio. Like I want to have this like. So I've got my editor, I've got filmers, and I can kind of just creative direct and like I love being behind the camera. It is so fun to me and I love directing. Not I don't really like editing, but I'll do it if I have to. But I realize that there's other people that are better than me at it. And to me, that's really cool that there's people like that because I want to tap into their talent and like especially when they're like really psyched on what I'm doing and what I want to pursue. So it's like I got this guy that's this DP. It's like he's fired up on it. Like I was in Africa with him, like watching his back and just like helping him shoot, and we spearfish together all the time. And then my other buddy, like he's an epic like commercial photographer, but just crushes it with the outdoor stuff. And he's one of my favorite people to spearfish with, and you got to meet him out there, Mike,
Mhm.
and like his work like blows my mind all the time. Like I love watching him progress, and so it's fun to like go down this journey with these guys, and then learn like how can we like build a team and then tackle these projects together.
Yeah.
And so I want to build like a full studio where it's like I can hopefully get enough work to where I can be like build bigger films and like and kind of again like take that like what Donnie Vincent has done, that model he's built of making these films and bringing brands in to these films, and kind of like taking and I want to tweak it a little bit and like kind of make it more of this like big umbrella where it's like, yeah, we can go make these films, but then I also want to like I want to pick up a boat and be able to like run filmers out to go film these like blue whales that they're like, we're always looking for blue whales, like BBC is or Nat Geo, and like sometimes they're hard to film or like tuna hitting bait, and I'm like, well, shoot, like I see blue whales all the time, and I I get to see the tuna eating the bait when I'm trying to shoot the tuna, and so I kind of like I was like, man, it's fun to like guide those filmers out, and like I run them on like my dad's boat, and so I was like, I saw like that, and I was like, man, well, in the summer I just want to spearfish and film underwater stuff. So let's start maybe like running people fishing and run like a charter business. Um, so I'm currently trying to tweak my branding to be more inclusive of a handful of things.
Yeah.
Where I'm launching like I've got the studio, I've got maybe running like a charter deal or just getting into like commercial fishing style thing, like getting captain's licenses, like and building this with buddies and doing it while we're still at the age we're at, where we're younger, because I feel like a lot of this content that's being produced is with people that are in there that they've been through it, which is cool. It's rad that they learned how to film a camera, but I'm a filmer that's learning to hunt rather than a hunter that's learning to film.
Sure.
Not saying that there's there's plenty of people that can hunt
Yeah.
and that grew
It's
up
a
hunting
it's a
that
different
are,
perspective though.
yeah. And so it's just like I want to come in and make it like make beautiful pieces that are that hopefully help change certain people's minds maybe a little bit, and um, addresses issues lightly. It just starts a conversation, and then allows me to do exactly what I'm passionate about. And passions change all the time. Like I'm always like I have like way too many hobbies, and so it's like
Makes
I
two of us.
so it's like who knows? Like everything's subject to change, but I think like I finally found that took like 10 years and a big circle back to childhood to find exactly what I want to do
Hmm.
and find that exact industry that I want to be in. That like just Western lifestyle, which to me includes hunting and fishing, because
Yeah.
I think that's just all a part of like the westward movement and everything. And so yeah, that's like the long term plan here, and just kind of building like a lifestyle brand off of it and seeing what happens, because I know I can always make at the very least I know I can make the marketing content for it. So
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be
um
like a production house that lives the lifestyle, right? Like you don't
yeah,
want to, yeah. I
yep.
like that. That's cool. Okay. I'm with it.
And maybe that just sits on, maybe it lives on YouTube, and then all it is just like a bunch of YouTube films. Like I love what like Brian Call's doing. Like I think he's like, and it's so like big right now, but I always wonder like, am I late? Am I too late for the YouTube thing? I'm like I don't know, but it's like I'm still gonna gotta try it, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like you're too late for the YouTube thing, right? I mean, I feel like to your earlier point, right, it comes down to the stylistic aspect of it, right? Like
Hmm.
if you were to go in with the same style as what has been done, then it's saturated. If you go in doing similar things with a much different artistic take on it and a different type of passion to it, then no, right?
Yes, sir.
I think that
Yeah.
that's the transformation. That's like your generational transformation of things, right? Like if you can follow the stylistic nature of everything, then I don't think you're necessarily too late. I think it's just whether or not you can keep up with how the times are functioning and how people see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the future. I hope.
Dude.
We'll see.
I believe in you, man. I think it's cool. I'm like freaking I don't know how you were able to kind of just be a yes man more or less and like kind of just roll with it. Like I'm getting to that point like as I get older and kind of a little bit more like learning about how life works, it's a lot easier to be like, dude, I can have like a 10% plan and be okay. Like it's fine. But like, I mean, I'm just now recently like today, like I have one more week off before I start my new job. And it's like, do I want to go to the gym today? Do I want to go backpacking? Do I just want to go to the range? Do I just want to take a nap? I don't know. I don't have a plan. And I'm just not going to be stressed out about it. It's okay. You know, like
Yeah.
whatever happens, happens. So, one of my favorite questions, this is one of my super favorite ones, is kind of as you went through all of it, and I took a bunch of notes, but like as you went through kind of the high school thing and skipping class and learning how to do photography and getting in with Red Bull and kind of starting to turn yourself into a photographer and filmographer, right? What is something maybe you wish you would have known getting into it that you know now that you would have liked to have told yourself then?
That is a great question. I like that question. um, man, I I think the biggest one is like just like blocking that fear of the unknown. Is just like don't be afraid of it. Like just because it's new, it's not scary, or like you don't have to be scared of it. Like be confident in your ability. And then one of my personal favorites, fake it till you make it. I, that was like another big one that I was always like, I don't know how to do that. I shouldn't do it. And then some like person older than me would be like, dude, just do it. They don't know you don't know how to do it. Just learn as you go. And I'm like, all right. He goes, and then someone means like, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Because I don't like asking for help a lot of times. Like I'm just like, well, I can do it. Like let me do it all, and I overload. So that's been a big one. Is ask for help. Take it till you make it. And then just again, like going back to like just don't be afraid to say yes. And then the fact that there's no rules, and those rules that are in place, they're meant to they're meant to be bent and some broken. Obviously, I'm not saying in like not law, but like creative
Yeah.
rules. I mean, maybe they're you got to break some.
Speeding
Uh,
limits. Yeah. It's
yeah,
all.
and like you gotta like I I think I had like a few like criminal trespassing things on my record at one point but I was like I want to go there and I want to do that, so I would just do it, and then but then you learn. I don't necessarily regret it. Some of them for stupid reasons, but it was like you just learn that like you can bend that, like you got to do that to like I'm not gonna just always be like oh I can't shucks like sorry like because then I feel like I'm just gonna end up like mediocre or just like below it because I feel like it's just not I'm not hitting those levels that I want to hit, and
Right.
I'm very competitive. Like I'm always like if we're free diving and someone shoots a bigger fish than me, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta
Game
shoot a
on.
bigger fish now. And it's like, or if my buddy just landed 3 fish in a row and I haven't even seen one, I start getting like ticked off. I'm like, all right, like I gotta buckle down and like I gotta win. And sometimes I have to slow myself down and like that's not the point. We're out here to get food and have fun. And it's like that's it kind of leads me to like probably the last one is just like have fun with it. It doesn't gotta be stressful. It doesn't gotta be like a weight on your shoulders. Like I think life's supposed to be fun. That's what I've been told by a bunch of people, and especially old people. I love talking. I love sitting down with older people, and like I don't have any grandparents anymore. They passed a while ago, but it's like my friends' grandparents. I love chatting with them because they're always like, "What are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go to Africa. God, like I get to go do this." Wow, like, do it and enjoy it and then do it again on multiple occasions. So I think that's just been like really important to me. Is like those are the things that I would like love to like go back to that high school person and be like, hey, like keep these keep these things in the back of your mind. And I'd also probably try to convince myself to start hunting earlier,
Yeah.
just because of like you can just start from a health wise perspective of like being out in the woods and like training and it's fun. Shoot, it's fun. It's like and you're healthy and you get to eat good food and hang out with epic people and wild people and you have wild stories and you get to see things that the average person doesn't get to see. And so that would be another one that I would definitely push on my younger self.
So then, of all of those things, here's another fun question. What's one thing that you don't get asked often that you think is incredibly important to share? That you're like, man, this is something I think about occasionally. This is something nobody's ever asked that I've always wanted to share with somebody that I just haven't had the opportunity to yet.
Oh,
That's like I think that's probably my all-time favorite loaded question.
yeah, it's a tough one. Or
Yeah.
for me, it's at least for me, that's a tough one. Um, 'Cause I'm a storyteller, so things come out like a. Um, I feel like the one thing that people don't ask, and I don't think it's because they're definitely not like afraid to or anything. It's just more of like I don't show it as often, like at least on social media or something like that. There's always like all these epic things that go down that are like this was so cool, but they never. There's never this like what went wrong, like
Yeah.
what like you went on this killer trip to like Africa. Did anything go wrong? Like what sucked about it? Because I feel like everyone just thinks it's all like they're like, oh man, like that's epic. Like you went to Africa, you saw an elephant and some zebras. Like I saw those at the zoo once. Like you had to see it in the wild, and then you went to the Congo and like you got it. Like your visa got denied. Like what are you? You know, like but like are you like in my head like my visa got denied, so I had to figure that out. Like that was fun. Like and I always tell people I'm like, hey, yeah, it was a killer trip. I came home. I'm so tired. Like I don't really sleep much in general, and on those trips I'm sleeping less.
Yeah.
But I'm like those trips, man. They're not all high fives and Red Bulls. Like it's not like perfect. It's never perfect, but it's like I think that's like those are the things that I'm like. That's what I get psyched on. Like the truck broke down. The like in Africa, we landed in Nairobi, Kenya, and the production company I was working for, had like 5 Pelican cases I was transporting. We got the Pelican case, like, and I noticed one of the latches was up, and I was like, "That's not good." Like, well, what happened? TSA probably checked it, but sure enough, I opened it up. There's like a $20,000 cinema lens missing, and I'm like, "Oh, great!" And was like looking at the foam, and there was an indent, so I knew it happened in Kenya, because otherwise that 13-hour flight I just had, that foam would have like expanded. So I was like, one of these suckers at the airport like stole it. Like so like things like that happen, and that's just like that's part of it. Like it's I mean it can happen anywhere. It can happen in the US, but this one it happened in Kenya. So things like that happen. Like last year's bear hunt, we were trying to cross a river in my forerunner and I had walked it and felt firm, but I took just a slight off like turn and sunk the forerunner into the river, and like the water was like coming over the hood, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. And so here we are, like taking the high lift jack out, like our firewood and like a dive mask, and we're like going under, and like I'm trying to jack the front of my car up because I was high centered on like a sandbar, kicking rocks, redirecting the river to wash out the river underneath my car, the sandbar,
Yeah.
and just like digging. It took me like 2 hours, and then driving down the road. Next thing you know, like the car's sputtering, and it's like I'm got a cylinder 4 misfire. Like all those like trials that come with that, and like that's like fun. I love that's when I like thrive is in that in I'm trying to think of a word that like describes that. Like it's just hectic. Like when all those things start going wrong, like I've seen people freak out and they give up. And I mean I've done that too before. Like I'm guilty of that. I think everyone is. But on the other end of it, it's like, how do we combat this? How do we like assess what's happening, and then how do we re-engage on that and then pursue the new goal with this altered path. Like the goal is still the same. The goal is still to go try to kill a bear on that trip, but it was like now I got to spend a few hours digging my car out of snowmelt river, and then go to the auto parts shop and figure out why my car's doing this issue, and then wrench on it in the parking lot, and like just like trying to figure that out. Like it's just like those things like happen. Like how do you deal with it and like learn to be patient and not, and then just do like, well, like I gotta figure it out. Like otherwise I'm stuck here. Like the one that always sticks out to me is I was driving to my friend's ranch in Nebraska, and I'd left Ohio, and I was driving through Iowa, and it was like -5 degrees, and it was like 10 p.m. at night, and I was like just dead tired, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pull over this zone, like this truck stop, and I'm gonna sleep. And it was like a weird truck stop. Like, there's a lot of weird humans there, and I was like, whatever. Like had the dog. Like I was sleeping. I slept for like 40 days straight on a cooler and an archery target, which are like different heights. And like in the back of my Forerunner, and like the dog would like curl up next to me. But I took the dog's bed to fold in half to fit on top of the archery target, so it was like kind of level.
Yeah.
But like, and I just remember I woke up to the dog barking, and some dude was trying to break into my car, and like I just picked up like my first I just had like a new 9mm.
Yeah.
I just remember being like, well, all right, like what do you do? Like I'm like, is this dude gonna break into my car right now? Like so it's just like kind of like I learned to be calm in hectic situations, and like dealt with that situation, and then it's like I'm getting out of here. And that was at like 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. So I was like, whatever. Like got in the car, started driving, let the car warm up. I'm probably like 8 miles down the road. I remember passing this little town, and I was like, thought about pulling off there, and I was like, nah, let's just keep going. Like, let's get to Nebraska. And right at like a mile after I passed that exit, all of a sudden it was just like this massive explosion, and I was like, whoa, what? And car starts steaming, and I'm like, no, like pull over, and I get out, and I'm just like, kidding me? Like pop the hood, and the whole cap my radiator like exploded, like blew up. And I was like, oh man, my mixture must have been off. And I just remember being like so bummed and like frustrated, and I was just like getting like I was kind of getting ticked off, and I was like trying had to sit myself down. I was like, oh, like dude, you can't change what happened. Like this is what happened. And then I always my friends always reference like Jocko's speech about being like he just says good, and so we always reference that these days. And it's always like, dang, this happened. Like this sucks. Like I'm just like good. Like it's gonna lead to something. It's gonna lead to something like funny at least. Like at least I'm gonna have a cool story to tell out of it. And ended up just like sitting in my sleeping bag, and I was supposed to have like a work call where I was gonna go plan on going to like a coffee shop on my way to like, so it was
Yeah.
like I was semi-professional, you know. It was like with John Wayne Foundation, you know, like they're important people, and I'm like trying to like I was like gonna put on a clean t-shirt and brush my hair maybe, but no, I ended up taking that work or that phone call
Wrapped
on
up in a
like
sleeping bag.
literally in my 0 degree bag with my dog stuffed in it because the poor thing was like he was only like 5 months old, so he was
Yeah.
just shivering, and multiple cops drove by and stopped and were like, dude, can we take you to a hotel? And I'm like,
You're
nah,
like, I'm
like
on the phone. Yeah.
like I'm like, we're good. Like the tow shop opens in like 2 hours. I'm just gonna wait for him.
Yeah.
I had like my entire life was in that car.
Sure.
Like I had all my camera. I was like, I was not leaving it here. It was like -5 out, and I'm like, all right. So finally, like, got to Napa Auto Parts, ordered a new one. They sent one from Des Moines, and like, it'll be here in 2 hours. And I was like, cool. Like, sitting there taking my phone call in the 0 degree bag at Napa Auto Parts parking lot, just with the FaceTime thing. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's been a heck of a day.
Yeah.
But
Don't ask.
I think those are the things that I almost love sharing more of just like what went wrong because I always learn the most in those situations, and it always like it just keeps me on my toes. Like I I don't do things really that are boring. Like to me, like if I get bored doing something, I'm like, I don't need to do that anymore. Then, or I just like don't have a desire to do it. Like I've always got to like find some challenge in it. So I think that's like the one thing that like I love telling the most is like this is what happened. Like just from whatever it is, like crashing cars and snowstorms to trying to jump my buddy's new Ford Raptor and taking a Pelican case to my head and getting knocked out, and then deciding to jump on a dirt bike that this X Games multi-time medalist was like, yeah, you can ride my wife's dirt bike. And then I end up crashing it, and then I'm like it's just like those are the things that like crack me up, and I'm just like, I'm still here, so let's.
You're not done yet.
Yeah, no, like heck no. So those are the things that like people that like those are my favorite. When people ask me those questions, they're like, "Did anything happen?" And like my close friends now, like they know to ask those because they're just like, "All right, like looks fun, but what happened? What went down?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you." Like, so those are the things that I really love telling that few people ask.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why. I don't know if they just don't think about it. But it's like I said, it's not all high fives and Red Bulls out in the field. Things go down
I'm gonna have to
for
remember
sure.
that. What happened? Well, shoot, man. I want to be respectful of your time, but is there anything I feel like we've cruised through a lot, and there's probably a lot that we didn't talk about. Is there anything left unsaid for today? Because I think it'd be fun to sit down again.
Heck yeah.
Left unsaid for today that you're like, damn, dude, I want to share this because it's on the top of mind.
Not really, man. I think that's just like that's the kind of the bare bones story of like being a kid to being, I guess, here.
Here,
Still kind of a kid, but
we
yeah, I
all
think
are.
I hope it never changes.
You right? So you're going on your bear hunt this week, right? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. I got
Okay.
a rod and reel fishing trip Wednesday, so in 2 days, and then picking up a buddy from the airport, and then spearfishing trip, and then bear hunting for like 10 days, and then yeah, just a bunch of other random work trips and stuff
Hell
to
yeah.
fill in.
Well, I'll have
Uh,
to reach back out after after the next couple trips, and we'll have an episode of just what happened.
that sounds good to me.
How does that
Hopefully,
sound?
I like it. Maybe yeah, and hopefully I cross through your neck of the woods soon here, and we can
Dude, if
just
you do,
link up
I've
and do it
got
in person.
yeah, I've got a recliner here. You're welcome to hang out. Dude, seriously, I barely got my bed yesterday. Otherwise, I've been
I
sleeping in
love
that
it.
recliner. So yeah, I've got a
Yes.
recliner, I've got an extra blanket, dude. You've got a place to stay, you're
Oh,
kosher.
dude,
So
money. I mean, like this room, I just the first like 3 months I was here, I was sleeping on the floor. I was like,
yeah.
man, I got all this floor space. This is killer.
Yeah, right. There's so much room for activities. Yeah, dude.
Yes.
No,
Great movie.
I've got, yeah, like next to nothing. It's perfect. I was like, I just got done packing my bag. I'm gonna go do a 5-hour hike this afternoon. I got that all situated and everything. I was gonna backpack, but I was like, I don't know if I want to go backpacking tonight. I'm just gonna do a hike. And apparently there's moose up at this lake that I'm gonna go to. So I've got my binos and my little,
Heck yeah.
it's my my knockoff phone scope. So hopefully I see something good. But
Yeah.
all right, man. Well, thank you. I'm stoked.
Yes, sir.
I've
Thank
got your
you.
number, so I'll shoot you a text in a couple of weeks, and I'll get back together and see what we can do. But
Would
good
love it.
luck, boss. We'll chat soon.
Sounds good, buddy.
Thanks, Dusty. Bye.
All right.
Dusty, once again, man, thank you for taking the time to sit down and share your story with me. I'm looking forward to reconnecting after your next set of adventures. But I hope everyone listening, I hope you all took something away. I will link his Instagram in the episode description. Otherwise, like I said, please like, rate, subscribe to the show, and we will catch you next time.